It affects everyone, so yes. Okay. So if you include pollution, I absolutely disagree. If you don't include pollution, I absolutely agree. Like environmental effects, like what I'm saying is that whenever I think about this, it's like, should a company take care of its employees? I don't necessarily think that that should be the responsibility of a company. And I think that offsetting that responsibility to a company is just setting society up for failure. And I think we're seeing that happen now with all these layoffs. And I think that we'll continue to see it happen even more. It should be the government's responsibility. Environmental responsibility is 100% social responsibility? Okay, sure. I don't see it that way, but I can see why people think that. Sure. Or at least, like, maybe I can see why people are saying that. I just didn't see it that way myself. Your answer is? I do disagree. If everybody says they're including, like, environmental stuff, then yeah, I would change it for that. Government responsibility should be enforced to save workplace environments. Exactly, right? So it's like, and this guy's post is like a very good point and like an example of like kind of like where I think that there's a bit of dissonance. Because like I think the government responsibility should be enforced to save workplace. And so it's not really it's not the corporation's responsibility. It's really just the government's responsibility because I think the corporation will never do it. And also, a corporation can never be held accountable in the same way. Rich are too highly taxed. Strongly disagree. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Sure. Yeah, I totally agree with this. The problem is that those with the ability, without the ability to pay, should still have access to a standard of medical care. The problem isn't that rich people have access to good medical care. The problem is that poor people don't have access to good medical care. Or any medical care. That's not the issue. Government should penalize businesses and yeah, absolutely. A genuine free market requires restrictions. I've 100%. This is like, bro, anybody who's played an MMO knows this for a fucking fact. Absolutely. Why disagree? Why do I? Oh, I might have clicked the wrong one, but yeah, government's penalized business. Yeah, I strongly agree. Strongly agree. Yes. Yes. Okay, all this makes sense. You hit strongly disagree in the social question? Oh, because people said that I didn't see social responsibility. I viewed social responsibility as how they affect the culture and not the environment. Because it's like social responsibility. Not like environmental responsibility. That's like in my mind. The rich question? The rich are too highly taxed. I disagree with this. Job's done. Yes, me lord. I think that you can... I think the amount of money that I pay as tax is completely reasonable. Job's done. If they made me pay more, I would pay more. Now, I'm not going to do it unless I have to. But if they made me pay more, then I would. Sure. I mean, and I don't ever have a problem with that because like I used to have food stamps, right? Now, how did I get food stamps? Because some guy that made money paid money for me to have food stamps. And now I'm paying for some other loser to sit at home playing video games and get food stamps. And maybe one day he'll get a job and pay for the next loser to sit at home all day on food stamps. That's the circle of life. Job's done. So yeah, no, I agree with these. Okay, next. Abortion when the woman's life is not threatened should always be illegal. I strongly disagree with that. Like, for example, if somebody gets raped, like, is this a good thing to have a girl, carry a baby to term because it's raped? What about whenever the baby has, like, a life-threatening illness that's going to kill it as soon as it's born? Is this a good thing to have the kid? No, it's disgusting. It's adding insult to injury. All authority should be questioned. Strongly agree. Eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I also strongly agree with this. If you don't have people treat you like this, if you don't treat people like this, they'll keep taking all of your eyes. I think that you absolutely should show yourself to be dangerous because if you don't, then people will take advantage of you. Revenge? Well, it's not revenge, it's accountability. Would that involve the military too? In some cases, yeah, absolutely. It also makes the world blind. Exactly. And if you're going to make the entire world blind, then if you're willing to do that, then people will be less likely to fuck with you. And that's why I agree with it. Does that make sense? Window for a window, yeah. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums. That's ridiculous. I completely fucking disagree. This is awful. Yeah, I totally think that, like, I hate the idea, and this is even something I've talked about before with, like, college, is that I don't disrespect in any way. Like, there obviously, like, there are bullshit degrees, and yeah, if you have a degree in philosophy, you're probably not going to have a good time getting a job, but college and museums and theaters exist to further, like, the human body of knowledge. They're not meant to make money. That's not the goal. It's education. Yeah, like, what the fuck? Of course not. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I strongly disagree. If you can't show up at school, you're probably not going to learn shit. And I'm talking about, like, in like, you know, grades like kindergarten through 12th grade. I think that you absolutely should be expected to go to school. I think that going to public school, I would never say it should be mandatory, but if I had a kid, I would send them to public school, even if I had $1 billion, because I think that the ability to work with and interact with and understand people that are of different social standings, different economic standings, different cultural standings, and being in what I would say is pretty much the closest thing to a melting pot you're going to have in your whole life, unless maybe you go to the military. This is a tremendous advantage that people that go to public school have, or can have the opportunity to have. And I feel like I've learned a lot in having to deal with people that I might not necessarily like or agree with. Like, going to public school, in a lot of ways, teaches you how to find common ground with different people. And I feel like unless you're put in situations like that, you end up finding different ground with common people. If that makes sense. Advantage depends on where you go. Definitely does. And I'm sure that people have had bad experiences in school, but I absolutely would want to have my kids go to public school. All people have their rights. It's better for us, but it's better for us all that different sorts of people should keep to their own. Of course not. Good parents sometimes have to spank. Completely disagree. If you have to hit your kids, you're also a kid. Gorillas do that. Monkeys do that. Animals in the zoo do this. If you have to resort to any sort of physical violence to have your kid do anything other than self-defense, you are a bad parent. And you are teaching your kid that you should solve problems with violence. Spanking is not different. It's the exact same thing. It's disgusting, and it should never happen. And the only reason why parents do that is because their kids don't respect them because they're bad parents. Asian parents do that? Asian parents don't do that. White parents don't do that. Black parents do that. Bad parents do that. Nobody has a monopoly on being shitty. My dad spanked me? Absolutely not. My dad never hit me at all. And I never, like, went against them or disagreed with them or did anything that he would really get mad at me for. My dad was a sergeant in Vietnam. He had multiple combat instances. He tried to go back to Vietnam after they sent him back. He tried to sign up for Desert Storm even. Like, it's not like he wasn't capable of violence. Like, he's on painkillers now because of how much violence he had whenever he was young. He never hit me. Never. Job done. His parents hit him, and it made him hate his parents. So he didn't do that to me, and that's it. Not even a smack? Never. Never. Not even grabbing me by my arm? Nothing. And neither did my mom. Is your back? It's a bit better, man. It's a bit better. Consequence handling is more important. Yeah. No, yeah, that's my opinion. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Who the fuck disagrees on this? Strongly agree, absolutely, of course. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. It shouldn't even be a it shouldn't be an offense at all. I misread it. Yeah, strongly agree. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be offense in any capacity. The only time smoking weed is bad is if you're selling it to kids or if you're operating machinery or a car whenever you're high. Other than that, it's totally fine. And I don't smoke weed. I never have. I never will. Also, don't smoke the devil's lettuce. Is that right? Oh, God. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. I want to say I strongly agree. I do. I really want to say that I strongly agree. What is it? All right. Job done. School has never done that. Bait question? I think it's a bait question as well. Yeah, I think this is an agree and not a strongly agree. The reason why is because I think that schools should do that, but I don't think that you should, like as I said, I don't think people in the future will need to have jobs. Every single person should not be expected to have a job in like 100 years. So it's a very contemporary opinion. And so I don't think that they should exclusively do that. But yes, of course a school's primary function should be to equip the next generation. Because what is, so like finding a job, really like finding a job, what is finding a job? Finding a job is generally finding a meaningful way to contribute back to society. And should the primary function of schooling be to equip a future generation to contribute back to society? Absolutely. It's not even a question. Let's see here. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Strongly disagree, because who decides on that? Most important thing for children is to learn to accept discipline. I disagree. I don't strongly disagree, because I think that it's important to accept discipline, but is it the most important thing? No, it's not. I don't like that. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures. I completely disagree with this. There are cultures full of savages and animals. They exist right now. There is no cultural, what's the word for it? What do people use? Cultural, like, relevance? Not relevancy. Whatever the fucking word is. I'm not going to be able to get past this. Relativism. Yes, relativism. Cultural relativism is bullshit. It's not true. There are inferior cultures. They are worse in every, maybe not every single way, but they are observably worse in certain specific ways. And there are certain cultures that are worse in a lot of ways. I hate this idea that you should look at our culture and think that it's equivalent to cultures of like these like random tribes where they're like, I don't even want to say what the kind of stuff they do. Like raping people like 10 years old, 12 years old. It's disgusting. It's fucking filthy. Of course, they're absolute savages. It's gross. Yeah, it's not even a question. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Oh, this is a hard one. Because what is the opportunity? I'm either agree or disagree. I don't feel strongly about this. I kind of agree with this. Because you should expect to contribute to society in some way if you can. And if you're needed to. The implication of universal basic income is that you're not needed to. Right? Like, that's the logic there. And so, no adult should expect anyone to have to take care of them. I disagree with this statement. I do. Because, yeah, who decides who's able? That's a good point. Yeah, I do. I disagree. I think that there are people that, yeah, of course people should expect to support in some cases. Absolutely. But this is not a universal opinion that I have. I don't know really how strongly I feel about this. It's saying if you are able. Yeah, but like who says that, right? Context unclear. Yeah, I mean this is, do you guys understand why I have problems following directions in video games? Because every time somebody tells me to do something, I think about all the ways that it's wrong. Like, this is exactly why I have trouble following tutorials. Is because I just always try to abstract something and turn it into something that it's not. Overthinking? Yeah, it does. I overthink everything. When you're troubled, it's better to not think about it, but keep busy with more cheerful things. It's always nice to say strongly disagree, but I completely fucking agree with this. I totally fucking agree with this. Absolutely. I've tried the other way. It didn't help me. And I think that the best thing to do is to try to distract yourself and move past it. I do. First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. That's stupid. I know plenty of people that are like Mexican immigrants, first generation, that are complete fucking Americans. They're wearing jean shorts and wearing Dallas Cowboys fucking t-shirts or jerseys the same as everybody else is. Nah, that's just bullshit. What's good for the most successful corporation is always ultimately good for all of us. I mean, always. Like, no, that's not true. I mean, I don't agree, like, because corporations are made up of people. And if it's a big corporation, that's a lot of people. So sometimes if something's good for a lot of people, then maybe it would be good. But it's not good because it's a corporation. It's good because it's a group of people. So yeah, I do strongly disagree with that. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. This is a very interesting question. Let me think about this. I kind of want to say I strongly agree. I do. But I think that, like, I'm thinking about broadcasting in the context of news. I think that I at least agree. Maybe in some cases outside of news, I don't agree. But I would say like 85 to 95%, I do agree with this. I think if you're involved with government money, you're accountable to the government. Leverage is not profit. Oh, money is absolutely leverage. It always is. Our civil liberties are extremely curbed in the name of counterattack. Absolutely. Significant advantage of a one-party state is it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. This is true. Like, look at China. They do all kinds of crazy shit. It is true, but it's like, the disadvantage is like way worse. So it's like, I'm worried that if I put this, it's gonna put me down as like a fucking, like some kind of like crazy totalitarian fascist. But like, yes, this is actively true. What the fuck do I say? But it is an event. It is. We need a good dictator. That's the problem. I don't know. In truth, it's a giant downside. It is. Oh, man. I feel like this is such a bait question. Seems like a red there. Yeah, significant advantage. Well, it is. It's a tremendous advantage. They can move much faster. Absolutely. Like, if the goal that you have is, like, for example, to be able to move faster, then not having to, like, if you don't have accountability, you can, like, think about it. If you have 10 people in a room together, it's harder to make a decision than if you're in the room with yourself. I don't know, I think it makes sense. There can still be disagreement within the party. You're right about that. Except for bad policies. This question is not an evaluation on the quality of the policies. It's an evaluation on the expediency of applying policies. So I don't know. I think people are disagreeing. Like, I think this is it's a true statement, but that doesn't make it good. Let's see here. Although Electronic Age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. I completely fucking disagree with this. I mean, this is insane. If you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to fear. I mean, come on. This is, I mean, duh. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. I completely disagree with this. Just only for the reason that it costs more money to get somebody convicted for the death penalty. Now, there's tons of people that I wish they just take them into the back and shoot them, right? But I think that the amount of ways that, like, a person should be able to go to bat to defend... Question mark. No, I know. It's crazy. I didn't believe it either. I looked it up. It actually costs more money to kill somebody because of all of the legal appeals that you can do. And so the real question is that, does somebody deserve to have those legal appeals? And my opinion of that is yes. And so if you're talking about the death penalty, the only reason this would be a good thing is because you get them out of the system, right? And why is it a good thing to get them out of the system? Well, because they're costing money. So if getting them out of the system is costing you more money, then it would defeat the purpose of getting them out of the system in the first place, so you shouldn't do it. So that's why I disagree with the death penalty. But yes, please don't get it twisted. There are plenty of people that I think they should just take them out into the back and shoot them. But I understand that that's not the way things should go. And people do have rights. And if the worst criminals don't have rights, then no one does. That's my opinion. I know this might be upsetting for some people. And trust me, I dislike the criminals just as much as you do. I am a very big police supporter. However, that's the truth. The chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. Well, no, because, like, what about kids? No, that's ridiculous. Abstract art doesn't represent anything, shouldn't be considered alt art at all. I strongly disagree about this. We talked about the Jackson Pollock shit multiple times. Anything is art if you want it to be. Art is a democratic decision. People decide if something is art. In a weird way, it's almost like the artist doesn't even decide whether it's art. The people that see it do. And if enough people see it and they all think that it's art, it becomes art. Andy Warhol copy-pasted Control-C, Control-V, Campbell's soup cans, and people said, oh my fucking God. No, I'm sorry, guys, but I don't think that's very groundbreaking. However, there it is. You could say anything is art. Yeah. People are still talking about the banana taped to the wall. In criminal adjustment, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. I strongly disagree with this. Punishment is for gorillas. Gorillas care about punishment. How do you reconcile allowing the death penalty when the fact that we've only executed people and will likely do so again? Oh, I mean, fuck-ups happen all the time. But, like, I don't really care about that as much as I care about people. Like, I don't care about individual fuck-ups as much as I care about bad systems. Because bad systems create bad outcomes, like, systematically. Of course you're going to have mistakes. Sure, of course. I mean, if people get in car wrecks, people get, like, the wrong medication and they die. Like, all this stuff happens, of course. Like, are we gonna, like, there has never been a single implementation of any system in the history of systems that has ever been done without there being some degree of fuck-up. No. So the only way that you can avoid fuck-ups is by doing nothing. Lack of punishment is the reason why crime is more rampant than ever lately. I totally agree with you, and I think that anybody who's shoplifting should go to jail. I totally agree with you. But I don't think they should have the death penalty. It's a waste of time to try and rehabilitate some criminals. I agree with this. I think absolutely this is the case. There are some people that are absolute animals, and you're never going to rehabilitate them. It's never going to happen. And so all you do is find a place to put them in, and that's it. Until they die. Fuck them. These are extreme cases. I mean, some... I'm talking about like 1% cases, of course. Tectone. Yeah, Tectone, good example. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. No, because none of them matter. Only the customer matters. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. So here's why I kind of disagree, because there are a lot of single moms, and their first duty is to have a career that allows them to make a home. Do you see what I'm saying? So, like, that's why this is confusing to me. Good point, yeah. And so I think that, like, this logic can only be used if you're in, like, a traditional marriage. And I think that this should be decided by the, people. The two people in the marriage. Like, they're stay-at-home dads. I don't think this is something that should be decided. I was just thinking about a way to explain that, because, like, I think that, yeah, there are a lot of cases where, yeah, of course it's their responsibility to take care of their kids. And I think that if you have kids, your responsibility, whenever you have kids, your responsibility is your kids and then your job. But the reality is that if you don't have your job, you might not be able to take care of your kids. And that's what makes it complex. Almost all politicians promise economic growth, but we should heed the warnings of climate science that the growth is detrimental to our efforts to curb global warming. This is another outdated question. Global warming was popular in 2008. It fell off, let's be honest. Now it's about climate change, and I think climate change is real. I think humans are affecting it. People smoke in a house, the house smells like smoke. People smoke in an area, the area smells like shit. A town, a city, you know, is so polluted that it's like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I think that the idea that you can't do that to the whole world on any level. Imagine if you detonated every single nuke at the same time. Like, there is clearly a spectrum where people can affect the world. Now, are we on that spectrum? I'm not really sure, but I think that exists. So I'm going to strongly agree. Yes, I completely agree with this. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I agree, but I don't strongly agree. I think that it's important to make peace with things that you can't control, and it's important to make peace with things and stop trying to fight against every little thing and be able to accept some degree of happiness and live within the confines of the existence that you have. So I actually do agree with this, but not in the bootlicker way. Astrology, okay. You cannot be moral without being religious. Disagree. I think actually it's quite the opposite in many cases. Charity is better than Social Security as a means for helping the... No, it's not. Some people are naturally unlucky. I completely agree with this. Like, here, I'm going to give you an example of people that are naturally unlucky. Kids that get cancer. Bad spawn RNG. Yep. Blind. One leg. 3 legs. Think about that. It's important that my child's school instills religion. Strongly disagree. I do not want to have religion in school at all. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. I strongly disagree with that. Big surprise. A same-sex couple in a loving, stable relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Should not be. Yeah, sure, why not? Obviously, like, there are plenty of abusive parents that are heterosexual, too. I think the idea that, like, oh, well, you know, a gay couple is gonna get a kid and then, like, molest the kid. Like, does this happen? For fucking sure it happens. Absolutely it happens. And so do straight couples do that. But is this something that we should base everybody off of? No. That's why you have an interview process, to make that decision. Who even said that? Tons of people say that on the internet. Millions of people think this. Just because I'm saying it doesn't mean it's like, is this new? Of course, millions of people think this. Yes, that's why I'm saying it. I understand, guys. I don't really mince my words a lot. I just try to say it how it fucking is. Because if you're not talking about how it is, you're living in a fucking fantasy. So yeah, that's my viewpoint on it. Gay people are a danger to kids. It was big in the 90s. Of course. And it's making a comeback now. I'm seeing a lot more people talk about that. Only radicals think they shouldn't? Well, yeah, I think that's generally true. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be illegal for the adult population. Yeah, I agree. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Is there any example of me not agreeing with this? I can't think of one, except for this is probably some crazy, weird thing. Furries? Yeah, true. No one can feel naturally homosexual. I disagree with that. There's plenty of animals that fuck the same sex. I mean, it happens. To say no one can feel this way, there's 7 billion people, not a single one of them can, get the fuck out of here. Obviously, being gay isn't the norm. Most people aren't gay. That doesn't mean nobody can be gay. Come on. These days, openness about sex is... I feel like this question's aged very well with OnlyFans. Openness about sex has gone too far. I actually agree with this. I do. I think that things are way too overly sexualized nowadays. I think that there's way too much of it. There's too much of a fixation on it. It's unhealthy. It's like whenever I see people that bring their kids to Hooters, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like that woman who had like her van with her OnlyFans, it's fucking disgusting. Absolutely not. And I'm a very sex positive guy. Like I absolutely am. But I think that it just being a dominant factor in basic culture that exists in a world where there are minors and children that are consuming it and seeing it, I think it's too much. And I think it's used, you know, like with movies, right? Like we saw the Henry Cavill thing, I totally fucking agree with them. Like people use sex scenes and sex content as a crutch for bad storytelling. And maybe not bad storytelling, but if you've played any gacha game, they certainly as fuck use it as a crutch for bad gameplay. Let's be real. Why Hooters? Because it's a sexual restaurant. It's a restaurant where the women are dressed, and it is a sexual avenue. What are we talking about? No, you bring your kids there. You're wrong. No, you should not bring your kids there. If your kid's 17, I mean, I'm not. What are we gonna split hairs here? But I'm talking about bringing a 9-year-old there. Absolutely not. Hooters is tame today? Yeah, sure. Now let's see where you stand. All right, you guys ready? Where am I? Okay. There it is. Imagine thinking boobs equals porn. Boobs are absolutely sexualized. The name is literally... The store is literally named after a slang word for boobs. They are absolutely fucking sexual in our society, and you are not going to hoodwink me into thinking that they're not. If they weren't sexual, the restaurant wouldn't be called that name. Some people really need therapy. Do you agree with the outcome?
I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that.
How do you not expect that?
Well, it's just like a lot of the questions for like the right-wing ones are like, do you hate gay people? Is your race better than everybody else's race? Like, these are like these are pretty intense. Like, there's a lot of other conservative values that aren't necessarily hating gay people and thinking that like certain races are bad, right? Like, where does the astrology question change you? Where does that make you go?
your word? Yes, me lord. What?